WWL radio reporter Dave Cohen also on the phone with us. And Dave, I know you're on scene. Can you describe to us what's happening? We've just seen some new pictures of SWAT and EMS showing up.
Yeah, and we've talked to residents who live in the neighborhood surrounding this scene, and there's no doubt they have still been advised to stay in their homes. Their neighborhoods have been cordoned off, surrounded by police who appear to have set up a perimeter several blocks around the scene of the initial shooting, not far from police headquarters. Helicopters continue to fly overhead, and clearly a manhunt continues for these potential two other suspects that police believe may still be at large, in addition to the one that now police say has died. Also at the hospital, police officers have been racing there because we know there are at least 3 officers who are still in the hospital wounded and fighting for their lives. Police tell us the dead so far include 2 Baton Rouge police officers and 1 sheriff's deputy with the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Department.
Okay, that's new information than what we had been told. We had been told that the number of officers and their locations had not been confirmed at this point in time. But you're hearing that 2 Baton Rouge officers and 1 East Baton Rouge Sheriff's deputy has been killed.
That's what a high-ranking police official has told us, that the dead include 2 police officers from Baton Rouge and 1 deputy from the Sheriff's Department.
And we don't know the other 3 that have been hurt. We don't know where they kind of fall into that right now. Can you describe for us, this happened a little after 9 a.m. We know, obviously, we as a country have been watching Baton Rouge over the last 12 days since Elton Sterling was shot to death during that confrontation with police officers. You're now a mile or 2 away from police headquarters. We know that there have been protests and things there. Was there any indication today that this was going to happen in your city?
Now, police seem to have believed they have made 5 arrests in the plot they revealed last week, where they caught a suspect during the robbery of a pawn shop. As several suspects had broken into the pawn shop and stolen guns and ammunition. They caught 1 suspect near the scene who told police, according to authorities, that he was part of a plot to steal these guns and ammunition so they could kill police officers at the Black Lives Matter rally. Police have subsequently made 4 additional arrests in that case, and it had seemed that that plot had been foiled. It's not clear if what happened today was linked to that or not, coming 2 days after the funeral for Alton Sterling, the black man killed by white police officers in Baton Rouge. So obviously, we still have a lot of questions. This happened just 2.5 hours ago, but I can tell you that the eyewitness video from the scene, you hear uncountable numbers of shots fired. There are so many shots being fired in the eyewitness video, you can't count them, and some of them come very, very rapidly. Apparently, many officers shooting or suspects shooting at once, or an automatic weapon with a lot of rapid fire at one time. So we don't know how many shots were fired, but we know the witness video tells us it was many, many shots.
Well, it's interesting because I was just talking to my colleague David Begnaud a little earlier, and this was initially reported as an officer-involved shooting, which would indicate that, obviously officers did fire. But do we know, at this point, do you know on scene kind of how this started? Or, we had initial reports that the gunman opened fire initially and then there was fire exchange. Or can you sort out for us kind of the timeline from what you've been hearing?
Yeah, we haven't been able to get an exact clarity on that, but what we best understand at this point is that initially there was a report of a man dressed all in black carrying a gun about a block away from police headquarters, and police were responding to that call. And we know that there was an exchange of gunfire that followed. We don't know who fired first. We don't know if police attempting to stop this man fired on him, or if he waited for police and ambushed them as they arrived. But best as we can piece it together, that's what we know at this point. But police have not released all of the details yet on exactly how it started. We're waiting for that, but they're actively still searching for as many as 2 other suspects based on what they can get from witness information. So they have not had time to stop and really release the information.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in these types of situations, it's going to be, hours, if not days, before we learn everything that took place. Can you maybe tell us, and I don't know if this has been indicated, of course, we as a country have been watching Baton Rouge as well as Minneapolis and Dallas. There's been a number of these incidents across the country just within the last week. There's tensions, between the black community and police officers. Do we know at all the race of the suspect or suspects at this point in time and or the officers?
No, police have not released that information. We just know that the one suspect that was described by witnesses was dressed in all black head to toe. It wasn't clear what the race of that individual. We know that the arrests made in the alleged plot to kill police officers in Baton Rouge were all black individuals. We know the two police officers who shot and killed Alton Sterling were white, but we don't know about the officers killed today or wounded today, their race. The tension has been thick, but it had appeared it had subsided in the days leading up to Alton Sterling's funeral. In fact, when many of the out-of-town protesters had left and gone on to elsewhere, things seemed to calm down. There were still daily and nightly protests here, in Louisiana and outside the convenience store where Sterling was shot and killed by police officers, but they were very peaceful. They weren't blocking streets. They weren't marching. There were loudspeakers and people speaking and sharing their opinions. But with the arrival of the Alton Sterling funeral, we saw an influx of people once again to Baton Rouge from many places to attend the funeral and to make the point again that Black Lives Matter and demand justice for Alton Sterling, calling for the arrest of the police officers, the prosecution of the police officers. So tensions kind of amped up again with the funeral and with the influx of thousands of people coming out for the funeral and to rally and make their voices heard.
I have to ask you, Dave, you not only are a reporter in Baton Rouge, but you're a citizen. Can you just describe what this has been like for your community over the last 12 days?
I think what we're seeing today is exactly what many people here in Louisiana absolutely feared. It just felt like suddenly, based on what we saw in Dallas following the Alton Sterling shooting, what we saw in Minnesota, it almost feels like there's an open season on suspects and on cops. Like, police officers are under extreme pressure now because they don't know who is gunning for them. In fact, in the days before the police shot Alton Sterling, there were cases in New Orleans and in suburban New Orleans of suspects shooting and killing police officers who were either transporting or attempting to arrest the suspects. So police have been on edge, no doubt, and very aware of the recent murders of police officers. Then we have what happened to Alton Sterling with two white cops holding him down, one placing a gun in his chest and firing two shots into his chest, alleging that Sterling was reaching for a gun, and that's why he did it. Following that, you have the shootings of the Dallas police officers at the Black Lives Matter rally, and the tension, it seems, between police and suspects has been higher than ever. And the fear was that it was a powder keg waiting to blow. And now it feels like that powder keg has blown. And the question is, what in the world is going to happen next? How can police interact with the public in a situation like this?
I know. I think we're all questioning that today. If people are just joining us, I want to give a quick recap. We now know that 3 police officers in Baton Rouge have died. 6, potentially have been they were shot. So there are 3 additional police officers who are at the hospital. 3 police officers killed, 3 injured. 1 suspect is dead. Possibly, we're told, 2 others at large. Dave, I have to ask you, you were talking about some of the neighborhoods and things being put on lockdown. With these 2 potential suspects at large, have they given any type of description or what people should be looking for if they see? I mean, or is it just if they need to report some suspicious activity?
No, they have not. In fact, they're telling people they don't want them looking for anything. They want them in their houses, doors closed and locked. They don't want anyone out or moving around in the area surrounding this. They say they have it under control in terms of having set up a perimeter and launching the manhunt. We have no description of the suspects or information about who these suspects may be, nor do we know anything about the one dead suspect that police apparently killed or In fact, we don't know how he died. We don't know if police killed him or he may have taken his own life. We just know that one suspect is dead and no description on that suspect either.
I want to clarify for viewers if they're just tuning in. We had taken some video from WAFB, our CBS station in Baton Rouge, where it looked like on one half of the screen potentially a suspect was being arrested. We don't know who that individual is. They are doing a split screen right now that shows someone in custody, but we're not sure how this person is connected to this situation. Apparently, this is the hospital on the left-hand side of your screen, where we know that two hospitals were put on lockdown in that area because of police officers being brought to that scene right now. So, I'm being told there's an update online where police are apparently checking for explosives at the Baton Rouge shooting scene with a robot. Dave, if you're still on the phone with me right now, I know we saw the SWAT vehicle roll in. Have you gotten any indication that that's what's happening?
No, again, police are not giving us a lot of information at this point, and they're keeping everyone as far back from the scene in the name of public safety as they can. So we just don't know. We know that there are reports that a robot has been deployed. We're not sure why. We're not sure if this robot is checking for explosives, if this robot is checking the body of the dead suspect, or maybe they've located one of the possible other suspects. But we do know there are literally hundreds of police officers surrounding the area, helicopters overhead, and an active manhunt underway.